So today I'm joined by Lisa Driver. Lisa is the founder and managing director of Booyah Vitality, a small batch craft drinks company. So hi, Lisa.
Hello, Simon.
Great. Thanks for joining us today. So Lisa, tell us a bit more about Booyah Vitality.
Well, Booyah Vitality is we produce health drinks, so we manufacture them ourselves from scratch using all 100% natural ingredients. We make mostly kombucha. For those people that don't know, kombucha is a fermented tea. So we add live cultures, which we grow ourselves, which is a real big health benefit. We also do turmeric shots and dandelion coffee as well. Booyah, the name, means it has a feel good factor to it. It means booyah, means like, feel great. But when we Googled it, when we were looking for a name, it actually means a healthy stew.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not that we're making a healthy stew, but we're still making the healthy products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So there's a connection all round there. So kombucha, you gave us a bit of an overview there in of what kombucha is. So like what was it you said? Fermented tea? Was it?
It's a fermented tea, which is lightly sparkling.
Okay. So and then you mentioned about health benefits. So what sort of health benefits has kombucha got?
So it's in the process, it creates probiotics, and probiotics are the good bacteria that you need in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
That helps fight off disease. Not the only thing, but one of the things that helps fight off disease.
Mm-hmm.
We make it with tea, which is full of antioxidants, which then helps the immune system. It helps detoxification, helps reduce inflammation, and whatever flavor we make it with as well, then it will have added vitamins and minerals.
Nice. Okay. Very good. So tell us a little bit about your business. So Booyah Vitality. When did you set it up, and why did you set it up?
Well, my background is I'm a nutritional therapist and a fitness instructor. And I started making, I started with the turmeric shots actually with my Pilates members, where people had aches and joints, achy joints and things. And I was saying, oh, make this. And so they were saying, oh, if you make it for us, we'll buy it from you. And at home, I was making kefir, which the yogurt, it's like a fermented yogurt, really. It's fermented milk. And you can get a water kefir as well. But at the time, I was making the other one, and nobody was really drinking it at home, apart from myself and my son. And it was multiplying. The grains were just coming out of our ears. They were just growing. So I decided to try and make kombucha, thinking that all the family would like it, and they loved it. And then my members were saying as well, "Oh, can you make us some? We'll have some." And that was at the beginning of 2020. And then, of course, we had a pandemic hit. And my husband, who normally works abroad, or at the time would normally work abroad, was home, so he couldn't actually get abroad to work. And I said, right, you better learn how to make the kombucha.
Yeah.
And so he's not allowed to go away anymore because there's no time for that. So yeah.
So this is very much a family business. So it's you mentioned now your husband, yourself, your son,
Yeah.
and your daughter's involved in the business as well.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So the four of us, our daughter, not quite so much because she has her own business.
Okay.
But she was one of the co-founders at the time as well, so she still wants to be involved. So, but the other three, myself, my husband, and my son, all full time. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you mentioned this is you set this up in early 2020, so about 4 years ago now. So
Yeah.
what challenges have you experienced during that time? I mean, you mentioned COVID, but what other challenges have you experienced?
Well, we started we first started under my original business name, Nutrition and Fitness Therapy. So
Mhm.
we just needed to test the water, and we were brewing from the kitchen, and we were utilizing the garage and making it all from home.
Mhm.
So we've only become a limited company. We've just gone into our third year
Okay.
as a proper company. Now it feels real. It felt like a little bit of a hobby
Yeah.
initially. So we've started discarding that bit, the COVID time, because that was just all about experience and seeing if it would work. Um, so then we grew out the garage. That was a problem. We were growing quite quickly, and we had to get some kind of unit. So we did get a small unit close by where we live,
Mhm.
but we were still doing the packing and the shipping from the garage, and I still had the office in the house, and then we had a little shop on the pier. So it was very bitty. It was all over the place,
Uh-huh.
and we were struggling to keep up with everything because we were wasting so much time. So then we moved into a bigger unit where everything is under one place. So the struggles really have been finance, because cash flow then comes into it. And also we weren't prepared for how much we needed to spend to kit the unit out. So
Okay.
that really threw us. But the main thing I think is we've all come into this by chance.
Yeah.
And although, I've had my own business for a long time as a sole trader, my husband's been self-employed but working for a company. None of us had any actually experience in all the jobs we were doing.
Yeah.
So we've had an awful lot of learning to do.
Yeah.
So that's been the challenges, things that we've come across that we just wouldn't normally need to do, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, and I find that with a lot of the clients that I work with, that and when you think about it, it's logical in a way, because
Mhm.
what happens? So an electrician decides to set up their own business. What business do they set up? They set up an electrical business.
Yeah,
And a hairdresser, what business do they set up? They set up a hairdressing business. And yeah, you've set up a health drinks business, which is partly
yeah,
connected to what you did before, a nutritionist, etc. But the usual common thing about that is people are really good at what they do, the electrician, the
mhm,
plumber, the health drinks, but not knowing how to run a business.
yeah.
Um, so, well, what would you, if you had to start from square one in business, if you could take yourself back sort of 3 years, what would you do differently?
Well, I'm not just saying this because we're talking to you and you're a business coach, but I definitely would have got business coaching right from the start.
Okay.
Um, I did know about business coaching, and I thought, oh, yeah, we'll get that later on down the line when we need it, or can't afford it now, we'll wait for that. But I really do think if we got it from the start, it would have made life a lot easier. Would
Yeah.
make life a lot easier. We would have learned quicker and sooner. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, obviously you're right. I'm a business coach, so of course I agree with you on that. But I, yeah, look, we can, you know, you go through life learning lessons. Okay,
Yeah.
you make mistakes, you learn from it. You hopefully don't repeat it again. You make a mistake, you learn from it, and that's happened. Yeah, okay. Business coaching can shortcut that a little bit because you're benefiting from the experience of people that have already made those mistakes and have learned from them. So,
Yeah.
but what would you say, Lisa, are perhaps some of the common misconceptions about running a business, and and how do you address them?
Um, I think I think people see businesses differently.
Hmm.
They think everybody maybe is doing so much better than they actually are, for
Hmm.
starters.
Yeah.
They see people if you have time off, oh, well, you've got time off if you're driving a nice car. Oh, well, you can afford a nice car. That kind of thing. So people see businesses in a different light. We get, how do we get around things? Do you mean any problems that we're having? And
Yeah, look, I guess. Look, okay, let me share a couple of things. So some of the things that, yeah, and look, you've shared some of them there, Lisa, into the
yeah,
misconceptions and what what you've described there. I call the iceberg effect. Is
yeah,
that people only see the bit of the iceberg that's above the water,
exactly,
and so
yeah,
all the things that you've just described there, whether you've got a nice car or you're taking time off, or that's the bit above the water, but they
yeah,
don't generally see the bits below the water,
no,
the
quite
bits
true,
that are going on to, to achieve those sort of
yeah,
results, the the hard work, the time that's invested in the business.
yeah,
And I think, to give you an example, some of the people I've asked that question before about the common misconceptions were things like, I'll be so much better off being my own boss. I won't have somebody telling me what to do. And it's turned out that actually they've got the worst boss of all, which is themselves. They've got themselves telling themselves what to do and holding themselves to account. Or I'm going to be able to be really flexible on time because I'm my own boss. I can choose when I want to work and what hours and those sort of things. And generally, people find themselves working longer hours than they did when they were an employee.
absolutely,
Yeah. So
yeah.
there's sort of some of the misconceptions I guess that other people have told me. Would you add anything to that in particular?
Um, yeah, I mean, we definitely work long hours, and people constantly say to us, "Oh God, you're doing really well. We see your stuff everywhere," So, but if we were to get paid for for how much work we actually do, we'd all be very well off. But you've got to be passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's all relative. And if I had a job somewhere else, I might not be as passionate as what I am about my own
Mm.
business. So it never feels like hard work
Yeah.
because we might work long hours, but it doesn't feel difficult. The tasks feel difficult that I don't when I don't know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
but the actual running the business, I don't think does. It could be easier by learning things, and it will be once I do find I've learned those things.
Yeah.
But the actual running the business is great. I love it.
Yeah, because you enjoy it, you're passionate
Yeah,
about it. It's your business. Yeah, no, I get that. I think that's
yeah,
very important. To If you are, and I think there's some great advice there, Lisa, that you've said, which is if you're are sort of thinking about setting up a business, do it in relation to something you love and enjoy.
absolutely.
Because it is hard work, it is tough
Mhm.
to create a business, but if it's something you love and enjoy, it will make it so much easier
Yeah,
to put in that extra effort and that hard
yeah.
work.
And
And
you're
look,
going
one
to
of the,
go through ups and downs all the time. You know, it might be one month and you think, yes, this is fantastic. And the next month, no, jacking it all in. And the next month, oh, it's okay. And
yeah.
that's what happens. Mm.
Yeah, no, I hear it. I hear you, and I hear it quite often. And I think, look, one of the things that I generally find is that, particularly when people start out in business, is that what they do is they actually create themselves a job
Yeah,
rather than creating a business.
yeah,
Okay, and they're very different things because, and if the way I differentiate between the two is, if you create yourself a job, then you're the one that does the work.
hmm,
If you create a business, it's the business that does the work.
yeah,
Okay. Now then, people may say, well, surely if I work in the business, then I'm doing the work anyway. But it's a very different thing. It's a very
hmm,
different thing that actually a business, if you've got the business doing the work, then okay, you might be working in it initially, but you can start to surround yourself by other people that start to do the work.
yeah,
Whereas if you create yourself a job, only you can do that work. So
Yeah.
yeah, two very different things. So what we've mentioned a lot about learning there, Lisa. What would you say your biggest learning since being in business is?
Well, first of all, just what you've just said actually
Mm,
is working in the business. I didn't know before I started this business that there was a difference between working in the business and on the business.
mm,
Um, and now I know the difference. So I think that is a big learning curve. I must work on the business part of the time and not just in the business.
yeah,
Um, and also test and measure has got to be one of the big things. Systems and processes as well. I didn't know any of that before doing this. So, being a little sole trader, fitness instructor, and working for myself, I just got on with it. I didn't really have to try with any of that kind of thing. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's my biggest learning, I think.
Okay, so learning to work on the business rather than just in the business.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
there's one thing learning to make and brew kombucha.
yeah,
There's another thing learning how to actually run the business in terms of sales and marketing and invoicing and finances and building a
yeah,
team and all those other things that are working on the
exactly.
business. Yeah, okay. No, I
Yeah.
think that's great. So what would you say to anyone thinking of going into business? What sort of piece of advice would you give?
Um, I would say do your numbers first.
Yeah.
Know that it's going to work.
Hmm.
Be realistic with your numbers.
Yeah.
Don't just put anything in because the numbers actually will tell the story.
Yeah.
Um, and definitely, look into getting some coaching to help you right from the start, even
Yeah.
before you start. If there's something you're just thinking about, then definitely get some help. Even if you don't go into business coaching, somebody who has been running a business and can give you a bit of advice,
Yeah.
even if it's just the start when you were thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, look, two bits of great advice there. And look, you're absolutely right. Obviously, again, I'm a coach, so I'm a big advocate of coaching, but you're absolutely right. It doesn't need to be a coach. It's just speak to other people.
Yeah.
Get
Other people.
advice from other people that have set up businesses, people like, yourself. That's, one of the reasons that I do these business spotlight interviews, because there's people around that have had very similar experiences and been through what somebody else might go through.
Yeah.
And you can it links into what you said earlier. You can learn from other people's mistakes rather than making the same mistakes yourself. So yeah, some great advice there in terms of just seeking opinions,
Yeah.
advice. But
I
also the
think
second
years,
thing,
sorry,
sorry, go on, Lisa.
I was going to say, I think years ago, when I said I was a sole trader, you didn't really hear of business coaching so much.
Yeah,
You do hear of it more now. So, I've come from already working for myself. So also didn't really enter my head about having business coaching.
yeah.
But now that people hear about it more, they see it on social media. I think definitely take that advice and do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because in places like America and Australia, having a business coach is like having an accountant
Yeah.
or a bookkeeper or a lawyer.
Mm.
It's just common.
Yeah.
Every business and would have a business coach. But you're
Yeah.
right. In this country, we're not quite there yet. But it's people are
Sorry.
getting a bit more and the value that they can add. But the other thing that you mentioned there, Lisa, was knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing that you said about what you'd say to somebody thinking of um, going into business is know the numbers.
Yeah.
The
Do a
numbers are
full.
just so important and you use the word there as well, to tell the story. So
Mm.
you can look back on them. Okay, well, what's based on the numbers? What's happened? What does that mean? And therefore, what actions do I need to take going forward based on those numbers?
Yeah.
Knowing things like your break-even position um, and what your cash gap might be in the business.
Yeah.
you don't need to be an accountant, but just understanding the numbers of business will help you to make decisions and do the right thing. So again,
Yeah.
another great bit of advice. Now look, I you know, one of the questions that I always like to ask everybody that that I interview on these, Lisa, is what's the best advice that you would give an 18-year-old you?
An 18-year-old me. It would definitely have to be find out who you are. Um, Never stop learning, because I think a lot of young people at that age think, oh, I've been to school, I've done my learning, that's it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Keep learning, learning, use your brain. Yeah, and find out what you want. And I think when you find out who you are, then you know what you want. And then when you know what you want, you can keep learning to actually get what you want.
Yeah, so I'm writing those down. I should say, because I've also got an 18-year-old daughter. So I love sharing that. I love sharing this with her in terms of
Yeah,
what people have said, and I like those. Know who you are, know what you want, because once you know who you are, it helps you to understand what it is that you want, and then
exactly.
once you know what it is that you want, never stop learning the things that you need to know
Get
to
what you
get where
want.
you
Oh,
want to
sorry, that's
get
my
to, and
dog.
what
No,
and what
no way.
and what you want to achieve.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
really, some three great pieces of advice there that all link together as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. So look, Lisa, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today and sharing more about your business and your journey. So
Thank
thank
you
you
for
very
having
much.
me.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.